Kimchi's back and it's better than ever. Kimchi's
Back and it's better than ever.
because it's homemade by yours truly, and we're gonna use it as the star ingredient alongside some chicken and some stir-fried rice. So let's get right into it. Hi, and welcome back to another edition of Delicious and Nutritious. And today we're making kimchi stir-fried rice with some chicken. This recipe is simple. And I know that some of you who have been watching these episodes keep hearing me say, this recipe's simple, this recipe's simple. And then the episode is 35 minutes long and you're going, it's not as simple as you're saying it is. It really is simple. All these recipes are simple. Most of that time is me blabbering about nothing, as you've already seen over the first minute of this show. So super simple recipe, 5 ingredients. That's all we have today. You need a pan, you need a spatula, a cutting board, and a knife. That's it. So this one is really easy. So the first step before we get into the explanation portion of the episode is we're gonna heat up our hot plate. We're gonna get this pan nice and warm because that's gonna be where we're stir frying. We want that thing ripping hot when the time comes along. So our ingredients today, as I mentioned, simple, 5 ingredients. I'm gonna start actually with rice, obviously the star of the show, stir-fried rice. This is white rice. I have about 190 grams of Gyeonggime medium grain of rice that I got from H Mart. I bought a 40-pound bag because it was on sale for like 30 bucks. That's gonna last me like 4 or 5 months. So I'm pretty pumped about that. I always bring this into the office at the beginning of the week. I make a pot in my rice cooker. I bring it in and I heat it up in the microwave as I go. I put 1 tablespoon of water with the rice and then I cover it with just a wet paper towel, microwave it for 1 minute and 45 seconds. It comes out great. Today we're using pre-cooked chicken. This is 115 grams of chicken breast tenderloin. Again, this is from my big bowl that I bring in every week at the start of the week of chicken, because I eat chicken and rice every day at work, multiple times a day. So I have a ton of it, so I'm gonna use it today. And then I mentioned the star of the show, I'm gonna keep the lid on for a little bit because it's pungent, but we've got homemade kimchi. And that's what I did on New Year's Eve. I woke up early and I made a homemade batch, and I actually broke out my iPhone and I recorded some of the process. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna show you some of the steps along the way to making a big batch of kimchi. It's early, 7-Eleven, New Year's Eve. We got some cabbage out. We got the Mongchi recipe book out. We're making kimchi. We'll see how this goes. First batch, 5 pounds. Let's get into it. 2 bowls. Only used about 3/4 of the head of kimchi, or of the cabbage. This is more than enough. We're gonna let this sit in some salt and some water for about 2 hours, and then we'll add the rest of the ingredients. Again, we're making homemade kimchi today. This is exciting. Kimchi sitting, osmoting, sweating, breaking down. Got to flip it a couple times before we can add some more stuff to it, but eating breakfast at the same time. This was 5 slices of toast, cut in half, of course. Eggs in the ongi in the earthenware bowl. That was 5 egg whites, 230 grams, 1 whole egg, 1 slice of cheese on top. And then you just scoop out your eggs with this is what I like to do. You scoop it out with your spoon on your egg, onto your toast, and you just eat it. Coffee, not my baby cup, but I probably should drink out of that because I'm a child. All right, kimchi making, let's go. All right, we've come to that time of the morning, 9:15 again. We were up at like 7. I'm a little more awake. You can probably tell in my voice. We made some rice flour porridge with some sugar that we're gonna add to make our spicy paste to put on the cabbage and the rest of our vegetables, which we're chopping up right now. We got a big, massive carrot from the Asian market. This thing was double the size. They're huge. And then in here, we've got some fish sauce that we're gonna add later. We've got some ginger. We've got a daikon. We've got some onion, and there's also some green onions in the fridge. And then our cabbage has been sitting out now for just about 1.5 hours, almost 2 hours. At 2 hours, we're gonna be done letting it break down, and then we're gonna add the paste to it. Gonna go back to chopping. See you guys in a little bit. Veggies are sliced up, mashed stick carrots, some daikon, green onion in there. We have got scallion, and we've got some pureed, like rice flour porridge with some fish sauce, some garlic, some ginger, some onion in there. Our cabbage is just sweating out the last little bit of water. We're gonna put it all together in here with some red pepper flake, and we're gonna see what happens. Spicy paste is made. We added our gochugaru, almost a whole cup worth of gochugaru in here. We've got all those sliced up veggies. We're just gonna toss in the cabbage. Let's do that right now. And then I'm gonna have to put my phone down and get in there with my bare hands. So we're gonna put this into that, mix it up. We're almost there. All right, we're all mixed up. Look at that. That looks actually pretty good for my first attempt at making kimchi. It's all in this big container right now. We're gonna move it over to this, my fermentation container. I'm gonna leave this out room temperature for maybe like 2 or 3 days because it's kind of cold here, obviously with it being December, January. 2 days room temperature, then we're gonna put it in the fridge. We'll try it, hopefully it ferments properly and I don't get like botulism or something. That would be obviously ideal, but we're gonna toss it in here. We're gonna create an anaerobic environment, hope for some good healthy bacteria production in our kimchi so we can help our guts out with a natural probiotic. Fired up, first attempt at mock kimchi, and then we're gonna use this in all sorts of recipes, kimchi pancakes, dumplings, stir-fried noodles, stir-fried rice. It's gonna be great, so really excited. Hope you enjoyed it. All right, happy big New Year's Eve. Fresh kimchi that I've been working on all morning. Was up at 7 o'clock, ate my breakfast, started chopping up the cabbage. It's now 10:12. It's all packed up in the fermentation container. I'm gonna throw this lid thing on right here. Then I'm gonna close that vent and that will create an anaerobic environment where hopefully this thing ferments properly and I don't end up with botulism in 2021, but couldn't be worse in 2020. So we'll see how this goes, but we're closing out 2020 with some homemade kimchi. This is a lot. This is like probably like 4 pounds or so in there. It looks good. It smells good. It looks like the way it should. It smells the way it should. So we're gonna let this ferment at room temperature for like 2 days, maybe 3. We're gonna throw it in the fridge and it should hold for months and months and months. So gonna put the cap on, close this. There's another cap that goes on top. Have a good New Year's Eve. Be safe, whatever. Have fun. Who knows? See you later.
3 days later.
Unveiling, 3-day ferment. Let's see what this thing looks like. There we go. Let's get a taste test. Looks good. This piece right here, top piece. All right, as you can see, I put the kimchi together. I just want to run through the steps really quickly because it's easy. You chop up your cabbage, your big head, quarter it up, cut the core out, slice it into like 1-inch pieces. You want to add a lot of salt, put it in salt water, let it break down the osmosis process. It kind of releases all the liquid that the cabbage leaves are holding. Every 30 minutes for 2 hours, you just want to go in and mix up the cabbage leaves in that water. And then over the last 30 minutes, while that's continuing to break down, what I did is I made the rice flour porridge, which was 2 tablespoons of rice flour. I believe it was 1 cup of water, and I think 1 tablespoon of sugar. Don't quote me on those numbers. I'll throw them up on screen. I have to go back to the cookbook, as you saw that I was working from. You cook that over medium-high heat for like 4 minutes. It turns into like a thick porridge. Let that cool down. Chop up your vegetables. For me, it was cabbage, scallion, and daikon. I cut those into matchsticks. I put those in a bowl along with that rice porridge and 1 cup of gochugaru, which is dried Korean red pepper flake. You're probably gonna have to go to an Asian market to pick that up, but it's readily available there. There's one in Worcester. There's multiple in Providence. I've already mentioned Asiata Market and Good Fortune. Those are where, or you could go up to H Mart in Burlington, which is where I like to go to get some of my ingredients. But 1 cup of red pepper flakes, mix that up with your hands. Make sure you don't have cuts like I do because it will burn your hands. That was a tough part of the process. And also you have to add in a puree. Let me go back a step. You put the rice flour mixture in the food processor with ginger, garlic, and just a regular onion. Puree that up, put that in with the cut up matchstick vegetables, add your red pepper flakes, toss that up with your hands, add in your cabbage, which you've cleaned. You have to wash those off, wash all that excess salt off, put that in, mix it up, throw it in your fermentation container. And I can't speak highly enough of that fermentation container that I picked up off of Amazon. The brand is called eGen. I think I paid about $25 for it. I think it holds
it could easily hold about 5 to 7 pounds of chopped up cabbage for kimchi. I love it so far. Easy to use. It has a really good seal, high quality, thick, and good locks on the top as well. So it's super easy to just burp it because there's obviously gases that's being let off through the fermentation process. And if you leave that thing, if you don't burp it every couple of days, the pressure will eventually build up and it will explode. So it's easy to burp and you're good to go. So I left that out for about 4 days. I had it for the first time yesterday and it came out pretty good. I'm pretty excited about the end results and I want to show you how to use it. So with that being said, we also have teriyaki sauce and some hot pepper sauce. Again, I got this up in H Mart in Burlington. This is from Chorip Dong. I love this stuff. It is awesome. It is a great sauce to have on hand for chicken and rice. I've thrown it into dumplings. I've used it as a dipping sauce for dumplings. This thing is awesome and versatile and great. So with that being said, let's get right into it.
With that being said, let's get right into it.
What we're gonna do here first is we're gonna measure out 100 grams of kimchi. You could certainly use more than 100 grams if you want. Today I'm only using 100. Again, this stuff roughly probably like 25 calories per 100 grams. I didn't do all the math out while I was making it, but if I did, it would probably come out somewhere in that ballpark. And we're just gonna get this into like 100 grams on our scale here. That's 99. We'll do a little more to get to 100. And again, this stuff is smelling ripe. Again, this is pretty much, when you really break it down, it's rotting vegetables in fish sauce and a bunch of other stuff that's breaking down, and you're just really slowing down the rotting process here. It's a controlled rotting process, more or less. I know that sounds really pleasant, but hey, that's what kimchi is, but it's good for you. Probiotic, health support, gut support. When you think about fermentation, there's actually fermentation going on in your gut. Some of the fibrous vegetables that we eat aren't fully broken down in our stomachs with that gastric juice. It passes into our GI tract and it will ferment some more inside your GI tract. And if it's a high FODMAP vegetable, which FODMAP stands for fermentable oleo monosaccharide and polyols, if it's high in that, it's going to release methane during that fermentation process. It's going to cause a bunch of bowel distress, irritability. If it's a low FODMAP food, it's going to ferment a little better in your stomach, not going to cause as much issues. If it's already pre-fermented, that process is going to be a lot easier on your GI tract. Plus you get those probiotics, which again are feeding those natural bacteria in your GI tract, making that healthy, making your gut biome good, and that has all sorts of health benefits. So let's go over to cut cam here. We're just going to pour our kimchi out because we want to chop this up a little bit into bite-sized pieces. You've seen me handle knives before. You know I'm not great with knives, but today I'm going to be a little better because this is easier. All you're going to do is just give this a rough chop. And what I like to do is I go across like that, one direction. Then what I'll do is I'll come over to this side and I'll go back this way. And then I go like diagonally and just kind of scrape it up as we go. Using the back side of your knife when you scrape like that, if you do it with the cutting blade side, you're going to dull the knife blade out faster than you would if you didn't. So you want to keep your knives as sharp as possible, especially if you don't really know how to sharpen them, which I don't really know how to do, but I'm sure there's a video tutorial on YouTube which I could watch.
Hey guys, and it's alive. We're going to be doing one of my favorite activities, knife sharpening.
And figure out how to do it. Not that big of a deal. So kimchi's chopped up. Now, why did we chop this up first? Stir frying, the key, preparation first. The pan's getting hot. As soon as your first ingredient goes in the hot pan, it's a fast cooking process. So you want to have everything ready to go before you get to the hot pan. So preparation is key. And then you want to think, what ingredients am I putting in here are going to cook the longest or cook the slowest? And I want to put the things in that will take the longest in first and the things that will take the shortest time in last. We're using pre-cooked chicken today. If you were using uncooked chicken, you'd want to put that in early. So I'm actually going to put this in last. I'm going to start with the kimchi, let that really crisp up in the pan. Then I'm going to go in with the rice, chicken, sauce at the end, toss it up. But you really have to think through, okay, do I want to break down my fresh vegetables if I'm adding other vegetables into my stir fry? Those go in early. Uncooked meats, those go in early. Then kimchi, then rice, then your sauces. So really think it through, because again, the stir frying process should be quick, it should be high heat, it should be fast. So What we're going to do now, over to the pan, little extra virgin olive oil spray. Just a little bit. We talked about this, not 0 calories. I know that these cooking sprays say that they're 0 calorie. In the United States, if something is under 5 calories, they can round it down to 0. And that's something to keep in mind, that anytime you see 0 calories, it's not actually 0 calories. Again, it says 0 calories, but that's for a 1/4 second spray. And again, 0 calories on the label does not mean 0 calories. More than likely it means it's like 4-ish calories. Again, we can round down. In other countries, you can't. You have to actually put the exact amount of calories that something is on the label. FDA says if it's under 5 calories, you can round it down to 0 on the label. But this is pretty much just regular extra virgin olive oil in here. Remember, we talked about it, 120 calories per tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. We're gonna move this cutting board because it's just gonna be easier to go right in like so. Again, back of the knife. And we're gonna get that in. And this thing is hot. Hot! Too hot! Remember this pan from Kimchi Jion? It's sticky, so we put a little oil in there, and that is smelling great. And we're just gonna let this go a little bit. I didn't fully cut through all these pieces of cabbages as I would like, but it's fine to have big pieces. It just changes up that texture a little bit. Next, we're gonna go in with the rice. And I'm gonna grab the handle here. And we're just gonna break this rice down a little bit. And again, I reheated this rice. It's better to use day-old rice than to use freshly made rice when you're doing a stir fry. And like I said, I always have pre-cooked rice, whether I'm at home or whether I'm at work. You can check in the North TV office or the North TV kitchen fridge. There's almost always chicken and rice in there, along with who knows what else, just depending on what mood I'm in or what recipes we have coming up. So give this a nice toss, and you just want to kind of see the white color of the rice turn a little red, turn a little orange. And again, we're going to break some of these clumps down. And then, now that that's going, we're going to quickly go in with our chicken, pre-cooked chicken, chicken breast tenderloin, salt, Himalayan pink salt, pepper, and then a little bit of Nashville hot chicken spice that I picked up from Walmart. It sounded interesting, but I like to keep my chicken simple when I make it in bulk, because then you can add a bunch of different sauces to it and it doesn't mess with the overall flavor. And that way, if you're eating chicken and rice multiple times a day or multiple times a week, the flavor, you don't get flavor fatigue because you can mix it up. So we're gonna get that in, just give it a quick toss. We really only need to heat this up. It's already cooked through. So we're just gonna let that get warm, keep kind of just folding. And you wanna move this because this will fry to the bottom of the pan, and we don't wanna lose any of that rice. Though we do want to get a little bit of crispiness on these grains of rice. Next, we're gonna go in with our sauce, teriyaki sauce. You saw this in the gyudon video. Everybody knows teriyaki sauce. 1 tablespoon, in she goes. And then hot pepper sauce, we're gonna go eyeball about 10 grams. I know what 10 grams kind of looks like, and it's like a little bit more, like that right there. That's probably more than 10 grams, but hey, who cares? Actually, I do kind of care because those are extra calories, but not the biggest deal in the world. It's not that many. Don't stress over the small things. Adding flavor when you can, and it is worth it when it's only a couple calories. And we're just gonna toss this. We're gonna get our heat up a little more. And we're just gonna keep tossing this. And we're losing rice all over the place, but that's no big deal. Now, I have been working on my stir fry, my toss. I'm not gonna do it here with rice because it's gonna go everywhere, but I have been working on it. I picked up a tip from my dad on how to toss stuff properly. Been practicing with stir-fried cucumber, so maybe when we get to the stir-fried cucumber episode, I'll be able to show that off. Look at the color of that rice. Brownish orange. You're seeing the flecks of the gochugaru from the kimchi. Again, homemade. As the kids would say, that is a flex.
How do you do, fellow kids?
And that is done. Get as much of this in as you can. And then we are going to move over to the main cam. We're going to do it back here. We'll move that. And then you just put this in your eating vessel of choice. Today it's going to be this black container. Also, shout out to my grandmother for getting me this like container thing. It's like a breakfast in bed tray, but this is where we're going to put all the ingredients from now on. So a supporter of the show hooking us up with this piece of equipment. It says, bless, I'm reading this upside down, so bear with me. Bless the food before us, the family beside us, and the love between us. Enjoy, Jared Ware. We're a family on this show.
But don't ever take sides with anyone against the family again.
So I'm happy you guys are with us. Bless this food, bless you, bless everybody, man, who cares?
I don't say bless you. I don't say that because I'm not the Lord. I can't do that.
All right, so let's get this in here. And again, this visually might not be like the most pleasing looking thing in the world. You might look at this, it is kind of one note color-wise. You could certainly chop up some scallion, which you've seen us do on the show, garnish it with some scallion if you want. But if not, like we're gonna do today, we're just gonna keep it really simple and we're gonna keep it looking like this. Kimchi, fried rice with chicken, teriyaki, hot pepper paste, spicy. It's gonna have a funky fermented kick to it. A little bit of crunch on the rice. This is gonna be really good. You could certainly cook an egg if you wanted to and put an over easy egg on top of here as well and get some of that yolk on there. That would be really good. Just remember, you're adding some calories, and what you would wanna do is you would wanna kind of throttle back some of the chicken you put in here because you're getting some protein from the egg. So what I would do is, like I said, this was 115 grams of chicken, which is about 33 to 35 grams of protein. I would use about whatever amount of chicken would get me to like 28 or 29 grams, and then get 5 or 6 more grams from the egg. Again, it would still be slightly higher calorie. This is gonna clock in at like 550, 575 calories. I'll throw the totals up on the screen. You're gonna get a ton of carbs, you're gonna get a ton of protein, pretty low fat. And again, if you're on a low protein diet or a low carb diet, use less rice or use a different grain or use a different rice substitute. It's totally fine. You don't have to use chicken. You can use beef, lean ground beef. I actually did that all day yesterday. I didn't use it today because I don't want to eat lean ground beef maybe for the next like 2 weeks because I've been eating it so much. So, but I bought 2 pounds for some recipe testing for some new stuff that will be coming on the channel when I can actually eat ground beef without gagging. But you could use lean ground beef, you could use fish, you could use shrimp, you could put whatever protein in here you want. This is good. Like I said, this was simple, this was easy, and this was one of the fastest episodes, especially coming off of the protein waffle episode, which is gonna be a long one. If you haven't seen it, carve out maybe half of your day to watch it. It's about as long as Tenet, and it's about as confusing as that movie was. So kimchi fried rice, looking good, delicious and nutritious. Thank you guys for tuning in. Try this, and if you do, tag me on Instagram, on Facebook. I don't really have an Instagram, but tag me on Facebook, tag North TV on Facebook, tag North TV on Twitter, on Instagram, all those things. Let me see what your kimchi fried rice looks like, and let me know how it tastes. All right, guys, have a good one.